Picture this: Samantha Jones, the ultimate commitment phobe, walking down the aisle in a designer gown worth more than most people's cars. The groom? Richard Wright, the man who broke her heart so completely that she swore off love for months. Sounds impossible, right? But what if that devastating cheating scandal never happened? What if Samantha actually married the hotel mogul who seemed like her perfect match? This alternate reality would have completely rewritten Sex and the City as we know it, and honestly, it might have been the ending Samantha truly deserved. Before we dive into this mind-bending alternate universe, let's be real about something. Most SATC fans absolutely despise Richard Wright. He's the guy who made our fierce, independent Samantha vulnerable, then crushed her spirit by cheating with some random woman at his country club. But strip away the betrayal for a moment and you'll see something fascinating. These two were actually perfect for each other in ways that even Smith Jerrod never quite matched. Think about it, Richard Wright wasn't some starry-eyed romantic trying to change Samantha into something she wasn't. He was a wealthy, successful businessman who understood her world completely. While other men were intimidated by her sexual confidence and professional success, Richard celebrated it. He had his own empire, his own money, and his own reputation to protect. There was no power imbalance, no hidden agenda, and definitely no desperate attempts to domesticate the wildest woman in Manhattan. Their initial connection was electric precisely because they were so similar. Both workaholics who prioritized success over sentiment. Both enjoyed the finer things in life without apology. Both had reputations as players who avoided serious commitments like the plague. When they first got together, it felt like watching two apex predators recognize each other across the concrete jungle of New York City. The chemistry was undeniable, but more importantly, the mutual respect was genuine. Remember how Richard would show up at Samantha's office unannounced, not to interrupt her work, but to appreciate watching her in action? He was genuinely impressed by her business meetings, her client negotiations, and her ability to command a room full of executives. Most men in Samantha's dating history were either intimidated by her success or completely oblivious to her professional achievements. Richard was different. He understood the late nights, the demanding clients, and the pressure that comes with building an empire from scratch. The way they talked about money was refreshingly honest, too. No awkward conversations about who pays for dinner or whether expensive gifts had hidden meanings. They both had serious wealth and understood that financial independence was non-negotiable. When Richard bought Samantha that stunning diamond bracelet, it wasn't about control or obligation. It was simply one successful person celebrating another's achievements. The transactional nature of their relationship wasn't cold or calculating, it was mature and realistic. Richard never tried to tone down Samantha's boldness or make her more palatable for society. He admired her business acumen, encouraged her sexual liberation, and matched her wit with his own sharp intelligence. In their brief time together, we saw glimpses of what a true power couple could look like. They attended high-profile events together, conducted business deals over champagne, and maintained their individual identities while building something stronger together. But then came that devastating afternoon when Samantha walked in on Richard with another woman. The betrayal wasn't just about infidelity, it was about the shattering of trust between two people who had finally found their equal. Samantha's reaction revealed something deeper than heartbreak. It showed genuine vulnerability from a woman who had spent years building walls around her emotions. The fact that Richard could penetrate those defenses and then destroy them so carelessly made the wound cut impossibly deep. Here's where things get interesting though. What if that cheating incident was just a moment of weakness rather than a pattern of behavior? What if Richard had been honest about his mistake, worked to rebuild trust, and proven that Samantha was worth changing for? The show briefly explored this possibility when they attempted reconciliation, but lingering trust issues ultimately doomed their second chance. In our alternate reality, imagine Richard fighting harder for forgiveness and Samantha finding the courage to believe in love again. The reconciliation process would have been fascinating to watch unfold. Richard would have had to prove himself in ways that went far beyond expensive apologies or grand romantic gestures. Samantha wasn't the type to be won over by flowers and poetry. She would have demanded concrete changes, complete transparency, and probably a prenup that protected her assets and reputation. The negotiation alone would have made for compelling television, two brilliant minds working through trust issues with the same intensity they brought to business deals. This process would have revealed depths to both characters that the show never fully explored. Richard would have had to confront his own commitment issues and examine why he sabotaged something good. Samantha would have had to decide whether her feelings were strong enough to risk vulnerability again. The emotional stakes would have been enormous, but the payoff could have been revolutionary for both characters. Picture their wedding. Not some elaborate fairy tale ceremony that would make Charlotte weep with joy, but a sophisticated affair that screamed power and prestige. The guest list would read like a who's who of New York's elite. Business moguls, celebrities, politicians, and socialites all gathering to witness the union of two unstoppable forces. Samantha would wear something sleek and stunning, probably custom-made by a designer whose name alone costs more than most people's rent. Richard would spare no expense, but everything would be tasteful, elegant, and perfectly reflecting their shared aesthetic. The venue wouldn't be some quaint church or botanical garden. Think penthouse ballroom with panoramic city views, or perhaps an exclusive private club where membership costs more than most people's annual salary. The ceremony itself would be brief and to the point, because neither Samantha nor Richard would want to endure lengthy romantic speeches about eternal devotion. Their vows would be practical, honest, and refreshingly realistic about what marriage means to two independent people choosing to build something together. Marriage would have transformed Samantha in subtle but significant ways, not into a domestic goddess who suddenly discovers the joy of cooking and cleaning, but into a woman who finally understands the power of true partnership. With Richard's business connections and her PR expertise, they would have become an unstoppable networking force. Imagine the clients they could have attracted together, the deals they could have closed, the empire they might have built. Their combined wealth would have opened doors that even Samantha's considerable success couldn't access alone. Private jets for weekend getaways, exclusive access to events and opportunities, and the kind of lifestyle that most people only dream about. But more importantly, Samantha would have had someone who truly understood her ambition and supported it without feeling threatened or trying to compete. Imagine the power moves they could have made together. Richard's connections in the hospitality industry combined with Samantha's media relationships would have created opportunities that neither could access individually. They could have launched joint ventures, hosted exclusive events that became the talk of the city, and built a social empire that extended far beyond their individual businesses. Their dinner parties would have been legendary, bringing together celebrities, politicians, and business moguls in ways that created news and influenced culture. The professional synergy would have been incredible to witness. Samantha's creativity and Richard's resources could have revolutionized how high-end public relations operated in New York. Instead of just managing individual clients, they could have created entire lifestyle brands, launched luxury publications, or even ventured into entertainment production. Their pillow talk would have included stock tips, merger discussions, and strategies for market domination. The dynamic with her three best friends would have shifted dramatically. Charlotte would probably struggle with conflicting emotions. Part of her would be thrilled that Samantha found love in marriage, but another part might feel uncomfortable with the lavish displays of wealth and the subtle changes in Samantha's priorities. Miranda would likely be skeptical at first, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, but eventually impressed by how the marriage actually strengthened Samantha rather than diminishing her. Carrie's reaction would be the most complex. As someone who romanticized love but struggled with commitment herself, she might feel both envious and confused by Samantha's successful transition from serial dating to married life. The group dynamics would definitely change, but not necessarily in negative ways. Married Samantha might actually become more supportive of her friends' romantic struggles, having finally experienced the vulnerability that comes with truly caring about someone else's opinion of you. But here's the real plot twist that nobody talks about. If Samantha had married Richard, Smith Jerrod would never have entered the picture. That means no younger man storyline, no exploration of age gap relationships, and no eventual move to Los Angeles. The entire trajectory of later seasons would have been completely different. Instead of Samantha learning to be vulnerable with a sweet, devoted younger man, she would have learned partnership with an equal who challenged her intellectually and professionally. Some fans argue that Smith was better for Samantha because he worshipped her without question. But wasn't Richard's respect more valuable than Smith's adoration? Smith saw Samantha as a goddess to be worshipped from afar. Richard saw her as a formidable partner to stand beside. There's something deeply feminist about choosing the relationship that treats you as an equal rather than the one that puts you on a pedestal. The Smith relationship, while sweet, was fundamentally unequal in ways that became more problematic over time. Samantha was always the mentor, the provider, the one with more experience and resources. She helped launch his career, guided his decisions, and essentially managed his entire life. With Richard, the dynamic was completely different. They challenged each other intellectually, competed professionally in healthy ways, and brought equal value to the partnership. Think about how different Samantha's character development would have been with a true equal as a partner. Instead of learning to nurture and protect someone younger and less experienced, she would have learned to compromise with someone whose opinion she actually valued. The conflicts between them would have been more sophisticated, involving business ethics, social obligations, and the complex dynamics of maintaining individual identity within a power couple structure. James Remar, the actor who portrayed Richard, has actually expressed surprise in interviews that Samantha and Richard didn't end up together. He understood the chemistry between the characters and recognized that their connection went deeper than physical attraction or convenience. From an outside perspective, even the actor could see that these two characters brought out interesting qualities in each other that other relationships didn't quite achieve. The behind-the-scenes reality is that television writing often prioritizes drama over logic. A stable, successful marriage between Samantha and Richard wouldn't have provided the same level of romantic chaos that keeps viewers tuning in week after week. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't have been a more realistic or satisfying conclusion to Samantha's character arc. Consider how this alternate ending would have impacted the show's overall themes. Sex and the City was ultimately about 4 women navigating love, friendship, and independence in modern New York. Samantha marrying Richard would have represented the idea that you don't have to sacrifice your identity or ambitions for love. You just have to find someone who values those qualities rather than tolerating them. The financial implications alone would have been staggering. Samantha's PR firm combined with Richard's hotel empire could have created an entertainment and hospitality conglomerate that dominated the New York scene. Their networking events would have been legendary, their client list exclusive, and their influence undeniable. They would have been the couple that everyone wanted to know, the partnership that other ambitious people aspired to emulate. Their home life would have been fascinating to explore. 2 busy professionals who respect each other's schedules, support each other's goals, and maintain their individual interest while building something bigger together. No desperate attempts at domesticity, no arguments about whose career takes priority, and no resentment about changed expectations after marriage. Picture their daily routine. Morning coffee while reviewing financial reports and industry news. Separate workout schedules because they understood the importance of personal time. Business calls during commutes, with each respecting the other's need for privacy during sensitive negotiations. Dinner reservations at restaurants where other power couples conducted their own important conversations. Weekend getaways that doubled as networking opportunities or genuine relaxation depending on their schedules and needs. Their home would have been a reflection of their shared aesthetic and individual personalities. Clean lines, expensive materials, and functional luxury. Separate home offices because they understood that sometimes you need complete privacy to handle delicate business matters. A wine collection that impressed clients and friends equally. Art that served as both personal enjoyment and sound investment strategy. The absence of traditional domestic expectations would have been refreshing to watch. No one expecting anyone to cook elaborate meals or manage household staff or remember social obligations. Instead, they would have operated like the successful business partnership they essentially were, delegating responsibilities based on expertise and preference rather than outdated gender roles. Instead of Samantha's later storylines involving breast cancer and caring for a younger boyfriend, imagine her dealing with those challenges while having the support of a true partner who understood her strength and didn't try to coddle her through difficult times. Richard would have been the kind of husband who hired the best doctors, cleared his schedule for appointments, and respected her decisions about treatment without trying to manage her experience. The friend group dynamics in this alternate reality would have evolved in interesting ways too. Married Samantha might have become the one hosting dinner parties at her penthouse, the friend with connections to exclusive restaurants and events, the one who could solve problems with phone calls to powerful people. Her advice about relationships would carry different weight, coming from someone who had successfully navigated the transition from casual dating to committed partnership. But perhaps most importantly, this ending would have validated the idea that some people are meant to be with partners who match their energy and ambition rather than complement their weaknesses. The Richard and Samantha partnership represented equality in a way that none of the other relationships on the show quite achieved. They were both sharks who chose to swim in the same direction rather than trying to turn each other into different species entirely. Looking back at the series now, it's clear that Samantha's character deserved an ending that honored her complexity. She wasn't just the positive friend who provided comic relief and shocking one-liners. She was a successful businesswoman, a loyal friend, and a woman who understood her own worth. Marrying Richard would have been the ultimate expression of those values, choosing a partnership that enhanced rather than changed who she was. The tragedy isn't that Samantha and Richard broke up. The real tragedy is that the show never seriously explored what could happen when 2 equally powerful people decide to build something together instead of trying to change each other. In a different world, with different choices, Samantha Jones could have had it all: professional success, personal fulfillment, and a partner who celebrated rather than tolerated her ambition. That's the alternate ending that truly would have shocked everyone, not because it was dramatic or unexpected, but because it suggested that maybe, just maybe, the right person doesn't complete you or change you. Sometimes the right person simply recognizes who you already are and decides that's exactly who they want to build a life with. And honestly, that might have been the most revolutionary message SATC could have delivered.